Okay, so we are about to start. Welcome everybody once again. So as I said earlier, Tech Winter Break is officially here, and so is our workshop. Our first workshop, that is for web development workshop, and we have our speaker present with us today. That is Sanglap Mridha, who was the ex GDSC lead too. So we are about to start in a few minutes. But before we start, I'll be giving you a quick insight about the solution challenge, which is also here very soon. The registration is going to start from January 6th of 2025. So I'll be giving you a quick intro about what the solution challenge is, and then we'll be moving on to the workshop. Shanglabda is here with us today. So before we start, I'll be just telling you what the solution challenge is. So GDG on campus with collaboration with Hack to Scale is here with Solution Challenge 2025. So why to participate? Obviously, as a developer, young developer, it's important that we participate in this kind of hackathons. We learn more about more skills. We meet people, and so who can participate? The most important criteria for you guys to participate: number one, obviously, you have to be 18 years or older. You have to be enrolled in a university, and you should be from a GDG campus chapter. If you need to be a member from a chapter, and you can form a team of up to 4 members and participate. And how the registration will work is, you will have to fill a form to register into the chapter, then register there, and then you can start registering for solution challenges. You can find the problem statements all over there. Then you can start registering from January 6th. I'll be giving you a quick insight about the full timeline we are going to follow. The registration starting from January 6th to 6th of March 2025. Then the training sessions will be starting from 13th January to 20th of February around dates. That will be the virtual training sessions. Then we'll be having the project submissions. The submission dates will be starting from 20th February to 23rd March. Good news for everybody is that this is completely online. You do not need to be present offline. Only once you have to be present offline, that is for the presentation day at the very end. So before that, everything is completely online. So the project submission is going to start from 20th of February and it will continue till 23rd March. Then the evaluation will start, and the top 100 teams will be given the opportunity to be mentored. There will be mentoring sessions for the top 100 teams. And also, another plus point for every one of you is there is going to be an 8 lakh prize pool for there. And it is the first prize, obviously, of 2 lakhs. The second prize is there, third prize is there, and two prizes for special category 2. That is 75K each. Those are there will be completely 3 rounds. The first round starting for the idea submission, and from there, 100 teams will be shortlisted. Then those teams will be given mentorship, and then they will be submitting their prototype. That is in the next round of judgment. After that, the third round will be taken. After shortlisting from them, the third round of the judgment will be taken, and then the top 10 teams will be going in front of the panel for the final evaluation, and then we'll be having our winners at the very end in the grand finale. So this is the very short summary about what solution challenge is all about. We are going to have more detailed sessions about them, but today's main thing is obviously the web development workshop. We are going to start with it, but this was something which you all should know, and we all want you guys to participate. So moving towards our session, we have Shanglabda with us. So I request Shanglabda to carry forward with the web development workshop. Here is Shanglap Mridha. Good evening, Dada.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I think, am I audible and visible both? I think yes.
Yeah, you're audible and visible both.
Oh, great. So, first of all, I would like to know, like, how many of y'all are from your first years or maybe second years? Like, mainly first years. Can you all raise your hands? First year people. I'm using Gmeet after a long time, quite confused. Okay. Now I'm able to see. I see only 4 hands. Anybody else from first year? If you can raise your hand, that will be great. Okay, so I see 4 hands for now. So I think second year people actually know me, but the first years haven't seen me or like they don't know me. So because like I was the previous GDSC lead. Hello guys, I am Sanglap Mridha, and I was the previous GDSC lead of FIEM, and basically GDSC because before like last year the Google developer on campus, the Google developer group on campus was called GDSC, Google Developer Students Club. So I was the GDSC lead. And but this year the names have changed, but don't worry, everything else is all the same. So moving on to our session today. So I have prepared a small PPT. I would say I didn't got much time, but definitely I have prepared a PPT, and this will be a web development workshop. But I don't want to like code and you people watch and get bored and maybe like turn off your camera and mic and leave, or maybe scroll some reels. I don't want that. So for that reason, I have kept the session short, crisp, and interactive as well. So I'm pretty much sure you people will be liking it. This is mostly a beginner session, like a beginner friendly session. I will be talking about some advanced topics, but not in very details. Mostly a beginner friendly session, because as solution challenge is coming, so I want to guide you all, you can say, to make application or to make a solution that can stand. Okay, so let's begin our session today then. Let me share my screen. Let me share the full screen itself. I think my screen, yeah, my screen is visible to you all, I believe. So let's directly jump in. Okay, so hi everyone. Once again, I am Sanglap Mridha, and currently I'm working as a software engineer at Altor Smart Mobility, and I was the previous GDSC lead. So today's session I have titled it Web Development Zero to Hero. Why Zero to Hero? Because we will be talking about the pretty basics of web development to some advanced concepts. Not really advanced, but yeah, some advanced concepts. So let's start with your session. So first of all, what is web development? Because we are talking about web development, right? So what is web development? So let's see. I believe you can just Google the definition of web development. Everybody here knows what web development is. Like, don't I don't think so. I need to tell you all, but still, if you don't know, I would recommend you to Google it. Moving on. Moving on, we have our agenda today. What we'll be talking about web and web development. Okay, and here, so first we have the basics of web development. As I told, this session will be a pretty beginner friendly session, and then moving on, we will be seeing that how to build your first full stack application. Like, I believe here a lot of people are already doing front end or maybe back end or maybe full stack. So I will be letting you all know like how to build your first full stack application. And then comes the advanced concepts of web dev, a few advanced concepts here and there, and finally how to deploy your full stack application. Okay, so basically this session will be letting you all know how to make your application and then ship it, like deploy it. Okay, so this I think will be helpful for you all as solution challenges coming up. And let's move in. Before we jump in directly to the topic, I think most of you know that if I talk about the industry perspective, web development is probably the highest used domain, you can say. Like, currently machine learning and AI are growing, but if we talk about last 10 years, web development was like booming, and it is still booming because most of the backend applications are actually web applications itself. Okay, the front end might differ. For example, you might have a mobile app, you might have a web app, you might have anything, but the backend of the application is mostly a web application, right? So web development is a very important part if I talk about industries and anything related to your jobs and stuffs like that. So everybody should know some web development. Like, if you are a web developer, you need to know good amount of web development. But if you are an app developer also, you should know good amount of web development, because you might be needing to serve your app with a backend, right? So you need to build that. So let's move on to the basics of web development. So if I talk about web development, what comes to your mind? I'm pretty much sure you people are familiar with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So whenever we hear the term web development, the three words that come in your mind is HTML, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So now, what is this HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Mostly everybody knows, but still, uh, wait a minute. I believe I have placed another slide here. Let me just check. I made this slide in a total hurry, so I think it went here and there. Let me just stop sharing my screen once. Sorry for the delay, I would say, because I have completely forgotten why isn't it here. It should be here. Okay, it's fine. My mistake. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, let me share my screen once again. Oh, I need to go to this tab. I'm using Gmeet after a long time, so I'm getting a little bit confused too. Sorry for that once again. Yeah, we are pretty much in the right thing. Yeah. So basics of web development. So as I have talked about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so I believe a lot of people here have already started HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, like doing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But apart from that, in industries, mostly nowadays HTML, CSS, JavaScript is not used. But that becomes a very fundamental thing if you are somebody who is gonna be a web developer, or like start your journey in web development. HTML, CSS, JavaScript becomes the fundamental. It becomes the backbone. If your basics are clear, if your HTML, CSS, JavaScript knowledge is clear, it will be very easier for you to jump into any frameworks or libraries, anything around here. So we will not be talking about libraries or frameworks in this session. We will be just plain talking about web development as a whole, and how can we make our full stack application. Okay. So coming to this slide, so web development, if I talk about web dev or any application development, there is three layers, you can say. Number one is the front end, like the thing that you're seeing right now. For example, you're using Google Meet and you're seeing a UI, right? You're seeing a user interface. There are small cards of people. I am sharing the screen also you can see. So this is the front end part. Now the back end. So what is the back end? So this front end that you're seeing in your browser, that needs to get data from somewhere. But for that, databases are there, right? Then why we need the backend? So backend works as the layer between the database and the front end. The front end actually cannot directly fetch data from the backend, like yeah, in from databases. We need something to work in between. Like I believe you people know about APIs. We will be talking about APIs also. So that is the backend. Okay. Now coming to the front end part. Front end is only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There is nothing else. You people might have heard terms like React, Angular, Vue.js, maybe Kit, anything. But fundamentally, or like what I would say, like even if you write your code in Vue or like Vue.js, that code converts into JavaScript itself, because our browser, the browser you're using, be it Chrome or anything, that browser only understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It doesn't understand anything else. I believe you people have seen that when we inspect like a page or something, we can only see the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Even if that app is built in Next.js or anything, there will be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because the browser only understands that. So now, what is this HTML, CSS, JavaScript? So the HTML, CSS, JavaScript can be understood by this picture very nicely. Here we can see HTML is the structure of the Deadpool. Yeah, this is a Lego, and like a Lego toy, and this is Deadpool. And what is CSS? CSS is basically the colors and presentations and stuffs like that. And JavaScript is the ability by which this Deadpool is dancing. Like he's dancing very good. Yeah, I'm kinda jealous, not gonna lie. So we understood HTML, CSS, JavaScript, how it works and all. The HTML is the structure, CSS is the colors, and JavaScript is the functionality, you can say. So how does React and others frameworks or libraries work? So they are basically, mostly you people have seen that those are all JavaScript frameworks. Like JavaScript framework or library, anything you can say. So those are all JavaScript based, because the front end, as I've already told you, the browser only understands JavaScript. So the frameworks or libraries that we use are all based on JavaScript itself. You might use TypeScript, but it also it also has a transpiler which converts the code and all. So ultimately everything is JavaScript, right? Moving on to our backend. So what is this backend? Whenever we talk about backend, a word every time comes in our mind, that is API, API, and API. What is this API? You might have seen people developers talk about, bro, this API is not working, or bro, I need to write this API. So what is this API? Like, people talk about API so much nowadays. Like, what is this API? So pretty much, like, you can again Google it, the definition and stuff. I think it is application programming interface, if I'm not wrong. Like, I haven't searched it in a long time. So what basically API does is, as I have told you, the backend works as a layer between the database and the front end. So what the APIs does is, APIs fetch your data from the databases and then serve it to the front end. Okay, or maybe it might be vice versa. Like, it can take the data from the front end and then push it in the databases. Okay, so that is what APIs do. We will be talking about APIs a little bit more as we proceed with our session. But now databases, like, everybody here knows what a database is, right? You people are this word is something that everybody and everyone knows, right? Moving on to our second part, that is how to build a full stack application. So see, I have told you that this session is a very beginner friendly session. Like, I have made this session in such a way that layman can understand that. Like, even if a non-tech person sees this and he or she doesn't have any idea about like development or anything, they will also be understanding this. I haven't shown any code or anything, because what I feel is, showing code in this session is like, it becomes very boring, because I have also attended a lot of sessions, and when people show code and code, it becomes very boring to watch. So I have kept this session interactive. You people can ask questions if you want. Like, we have completed the first part, so if anybody has any question on that, they can ask. Is there any question? You people can raise your hand, maybe, if you have any question, or directly you can write it in the chat also. And if you're comfortable, turn on your mic. No questions, right? Great, because that was very like, very easy and simple thing. So now, coming to the build a full stack application. So see, I could give you an example of building something like Zomato, or maybe something like Amazon, but no, I haven't given such example. I have given you a beautiful example. A beautiful example of a to-do app. So now, why to-do app? People will say, like, why to-do app? Like, everybody can build a to-do app. Like, if they are doing web development for some time, everybody can build a to-do app. But let me tell you all what I have seen and what I have experienced when I started doing development, or whenever somebody starts doing development. Here, the first step he or she takes is open YouTube and search for how to make a full stack application, right? So if you do that, and if you make a to-do application, I'm pretty much sure I will be asking you some questions and you won't be able to answer those. Because the only reason is, you have seen that tutorial and made it. You haven't really understood it to the core. So let us talk about what really happens to build a to-do app. I'm not going to show you how to build a to-do app in this meeting or in this session, but we are going to talk about how a to-do app is built. And why I have chosen a to-do app, because to-do apps can be the simplest of application, and also to-do apps can be the complex of application. And to-do app is the best example of CRUD, and everything is there. That's why I have chosen to-do app. Okay, so this is a to-do app. This is how a to-do app looks. And if anybody is like, is confused what a to-do app is, to-do app is basically a app where you basically like, schedule your tasks. Suppose you woke up in the morning, like, I think here I can see, here we have gyms at 6:30 a.m. Oh my god, very early. Then we have feed dog at 8 a.m., then go to supermarket at 5 a.m., like this. Like, you have your schedule of the day. That is a to do app, like to do the things you need to do. Okay, so let's moving on. I talked about CRUD, right? So what is this CRUD? You people might have heard people say that CRUD application, make a CRUD application. If you want to learn a language, make a CRUD application. So the CRUD basically stands for create, read, update, and delete. So to do is a perfect example of a CRUD application, because you can add new tasks, that is create, and then you can fetch and display tasks, that is read, and then you can edit the existing task, that is update, and also remove task, that is delete. So to do has a perfect example of I click the button. To do has a perfect example of CRUD. Okay, now moving on. If you are making an application, you will be confused like what technology to use, because day by day as we are moving, like we are seeing every month something new coming up. Like if I talk about front end, there was React. Before that there was Angular. Definitely from Angular people started switching to React, and when like React became stable and all, people started switching to Next.js. Then again when Next was becoming like a thing here, people are switching to Remix, and everything and all things are going on and on. Okay, so technology will is something that will keep on changing, that will keep on booming. So what should you do as a developer, as a software engineer? The main thing of learning anything is to understanding the core. Technology doesn't matter. What technology you have used to build app absolutely doesn't matter. Like even like a Java app also works very well today. Like even if you are a Spring Boot developer, if you're starting, like people say that Spring Boot is dead, Spring Boot is old, or anything like that, or maybe PHP is dead, PHP is old. But everything has its potential, everything can be used for everything, right? It makes sense, I think. But don't do PHP in 2000, at least in 2024 25 is coming. Don't do PHP. That will be my suggestion to you all. So you have better technologies nowadays. So technology will keep on switching, technology will keep on evolving, right? So what technology should you choose the technology that you are comfortable with. If you don't know nothing, if you are blank with technologies, like you have done just a few bit of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then first do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript completely, and then if you need to make a full stack application, like as solutions challenge is also coming, you go with the MERN stack. Like if you don't know nothing, I am repeating again, go with MERN stack. If you don't know nothing, what is MERN? MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. Okay, that will be a stack that you can learn easily if you are a JavaScript developer. But at the same time, like doing backend in JavaScript is something I would not recommend. Like when I was in college, I also thought that Node.js is best. Node.js is the thing. Like Node means I'm talking about Express.js is the best. It is the best. But as I moved on to industry, as I started working on real life applications, I understood that Node.js has some limitations. The main limitation lies that it is a single threaded language. So we sometimes need multi-threaded nets, sometimes need concurrency and stuffs like that. So if you know Python, go with Django, Flask, Fast API. You have three options. If you know Java, go with Spring Boot. If you know JavaScript, then go with Node.js and Express.js. Okay. And if you know Rust, then I don't know Rust. I cannot suggest you. If you know Go, then you can directly with Go, right? So that's up to you. Languages doesn't matter. Technology doesn't matter. The code matters. Okay. So moving on, how to build the application front end. Okay. So we are talking about a to-do app. Remember that. Okay. So how can I make a to-do application front end? So first, you need to think about the application, what it will have. It will have something to add your like work. It will have a plus sign. You will click on the plus sign, and that like plus sign will open a form to you. Like this is a certificate written, but because I didn't got a suitable meme, but like a form will open up. Okay, and in that form you will be writing your details, like I will be feeding the dog at 8 a.m. or something like that was there. So you will be doing that, and then you will be pressing a button and it will be added to your list, right? So this will be your front end work you have understood. So now to build this thing, like you can make the forms and everything and all, But as you are making a full stack application, your backend is also very much important, right? So in the backend, you will be having REST APIs. Now, what is this REST API? When I first heard the term REST API, I thought that rest, like we need to rest or something like that, get some sleep or anything like that. But no, REST API is not that. REST API is something else. REST basically stands for oh my god, representational state transfer. This is probably the second time I have seen this word, because nobody uses this term. Trust me, everybody calls this REST API or maybe directly APIs. Okay, so what is this REST API? This representational state transfer. What is this representational state transfer? So think it in that way, that a browser is a different thing and your database is a different thing. Okay, so you need somebody. For example, you go to France, and in France somebody, like people are talking in French, right? So you will be needing somebody who can translate your language, right? So that's what API does. Like that, this was a very bad example, but okay, I think you get it, what a API is, what a REST API is rather. So that's what REST API does. Okay, REST API takes your data from the backend and then it changes it in the way that the front end would understand that. Okay, so now if we talk about APIs, there are some methods of APIs. Like these are the HTTP methods. Now, what is HTTP and all, you will be learning in the college. Trust me, you will be learning in the college if you do the classes, or if you watch YouTube and stuffs like that. So let me tell you all, like, what these methods are. So you can see post, get, put, delete. So people who are quite newbie might be thinking like, what is this post, get, put, delete? So we have talked about CRUD, right? CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete, right? So delete is there, you people can understand. So what is this create? Create means you are creating something, right? So in a API level, okay, in a API level, there is nothing called create, there is post. Why it is called post? Because you are writing something in your front end and you are posting it in your backend, which is the database. Okay, so that API is known as the post APIs. Like these are all API methods, you can say, like HTTP methods. So this is post. Now coming to get, as the name suggests, get is the get API is basically something that fetches the data from the backend to the front end. Pretty simple. Now coming to put. Put is something that basically updates your data. It checks that whether data is there or not, and then it updates. Okay, there is also patch. You can use patch also, and delete. As you can see, delete basically deletes. Now a fun fact, post API is such a API which you can use for all of this. Like if you want to get details, you can use post API and like give the response as the details. If you want to update something, you can use post API. If you want to delete something, you can also use post APIs. Everything can be done using post API. But if you are a developer who is starting out, never ever do this, because like if this becomes a habit, that will be very difficult to go. And like in industry, in company level, we do not do that. We have proper APIs. Maybe in some case where there, like some other API is not working or something, like that can happen actually. So people properly follow this convention, like the post, get, put, delete. They follow this convention. Put might be replaced by patch. So as you are building your first application, you should also follow this. Don't blindly copy, like if don't blindly make everything post. Okay, great. So why is it here? Let me hide this. Yeah. Okay, so now moving on. Moving on, we have the advanced concepts. So now I think you people have understood how you can make a application, like a to do application, right? Now you people might say like, yeah, we understood, but I don't think so that we will be able to code. And I totally agree with you. Like if somebody would have told me this and told me that now you can make an application, and like I wouldn't have succeeded. So now what to do? See, if you really want to learn coding, or if you really want to be a software engineer, then the most important thing is to be curious. Today I told you about post APIs, delete APIs, put APIs, patch APIs. So you should, after this session, you should search and learn that what is that, what is this, what is those. And if you're making a to-do application or any application, you should understand all these concepts clearly. Like these are the main concepts. If you are sitting for an interview, if you have cleared the basic rounds of like the basic coding, and you have come to the project, like you have come to the point where the interview is talking about your projects, they will be like asking you two things. Number one is project concept, like how your project works and all, like the business logic, you can say how is your project working. And number two, that is the most important thing, is this core concepts. Like if you tell somebody like that, okay, I have used a post API here, I have used a get API here, he or she will automatically understand that, okay, this guy knows how an application works, this guy knows how everything is done. Okay. So as you move up ladder, like as you experience more about these concepts, nobody wants you to like code everything and anything like that. Sometimes in some good companies, like for a front end role, they have those machine coding rounds, but those are the initial rounds. If you clear those rounds, the final round or the pre-final round will be based on these things. Okay. So understanding concepts is very much important. Now coming to the advanced concepts, like I would not say that this is advanced concept, the concepts I'm gonna tell, but definitely if somebody is making their first to do application, this is gonna be a advanced thing for them. Number one is authentication. So, what is authentication? A lot of people might know, a lot of people might not. So, authentication is something. Okay, let me give you an example. You opened up Facebook. Okay, you logged in with your Facebook, and you see details of some other user. Like you have logged into some other user's account. So, what will be your reaction? Your reaction will be just like speed, right? What is happening, right? So that is why authentication is needed. Authentication makes sure that your like you log into your account, your data is fetched by you only. Like this sounds confusing, but it is pretty simple, right? So what authentication actually does is, when you log in, hmm, when you first log in, the backend shares a token with you. Like a very long token, might be something like I think hex values or something it is called. I have also forgotten. They share a token with you. Okay, so you need to keep that token. For example, you go to a event, they share a food coupon. You need to keep the food coupon to get the food. If you lose the food coupon, what will happen? They will throw you out. Just like in authentication, if you lose the token, okay, like there the token usually has an expiry. If the token gets expired, you will be logged out. Okay, if you have seen IRCTC, if you have booked your tickets in IRCTC, you have logged in into IRCTC, you are checking your trains and all, and you click the refresh button, you will see that you will again get logged out. This happens because actually IRCTC doesn't store your token in the browser, but most companies do. IRCTC has some, like as it is a government site, so they have a lot of I would say security measures and all, so they don't store in tokens in the front end browser. But you can, mostly companies do, mostly companies store their token in cookies and stuffs like that. So authentication is a total different concept. We cannot talk about authentication in this series, like in this session particularly, but definitely in some other session I can definitely talk about authentication, or maybe let's see. And then moving on, we have lazy loading. Okay, so what is this lazy loading? Like lazy, is this something related to this, like just staying lazy and just chilling, like I'm just a chill guy or something like that? But no, lazy loading is not that. So have you seen, if whenever we make applications, what happens is we write simple codes and stuffs like that, but suppose your backend is a bit slow, what will happen then? Your, like, the page will open and it will be blank, and then again then suddenly the data will come. That doesn't look good, right? So you need some loading or so stuffs like that. So that concept is called lazy loading. For example, your page has different components. So you can lazy load some components. It basically helps in the performance of your web app. Like your web app will be very fast, it will be very good. For example, if I talk about a dashboard, maybe your dashboard has some cards on top and then some charts and all. So you can lazy load those charts. Whenever the person opens the page, all those cards get rendered along with that, along with the page. But those and all can be lazy loaded. Like that's actually a good, I would say, practice that we use in industries. Okay, so lazy loading is a great concept. I would recommend, like, if you're building that to do application, use lazy loading. Use authentic will also become a complex application. Trust me, like people take to do as very lightly, but if your to do has proper authentication, if your to do has proper lazy loading, that becomes actually a great application, a great project. Okay, now moving on, the third point, that is caching. Now caching is one of my favorite topics in front end. Like I am mostly a front end developer, like I mostly work in the front end, and caching is something I really love. Recently I visited Defes Durgapur as a speaker, so there I have taken a session on caching. And you people okay, I have the video, I will be posting it on my YouTube, so you people can actually check that video. I will be posting it tomorrow itself, I haven't posted it yet. So I will be posting it, you people can check that video. If you like it, do sub, a little bit of promo. Okay, so, oh, I skipped it too fast. So what is caching? So caching is something, so see, suppose you open a page, right? You opened a page, then you move to another page. Like you opened a profile page, your profile page, then you move to another page. Then again, you move to the profile page. Then again to another page, again profile page, again another page. So what will happen every time you visit that profile page, an API will be called, which will be getting your details, right? So that is not good, right? Every time an API will be called, and like you, whether you people know or don't know, I don't know, but each API call actually costs something. Maybe it costs some 0.001 paisa or something like that, but actually it costs something if you are like deploying your application. If I talk about industry, like if you have deployed your application in AWS or GCP, anything, so that will cost you something. So to reduce that cost, so see, 0.001 paisa is nothing, right? But if your application has 1 lakh users, then that paisa will increase, right? So to that, what we do is caching. Like caching can be done in multiple ways, but that's a way of caching. Like I have talked about caching very well in that session. I think you people should check that video, I will be uploading. So this is an example of caching, right? Now coming to deploying a full stack app. So how to deploy a full stack app? Understand that your full stack application has two parts. One is front end, one is back end. Okay. So you need to actually three parts. One is database, right? You have three things. If you are using MongoDB or something, MongoDB gives you already deployed. The MongoDB Atlas is already deployed. You have 512 MB if I'm not wrong. But if you're using a SQL server, okay, if you're using SQL is not deployed easily. Like you need to deploy SQL separately. Okay, so that becomes a challenge. Definitely, that becomes a challenge, and getting free resources for SQL deployment becomes a little bit more challenge. Okay, but nothing to worry. If you can Google, if you can search, you will easily get it. Like I have myself deployed a SQL server. I think in DigitalOcean or something like that. I got a free something. I also don't remember. Like it's around 4 5 months back. But I deployed one SQL server for a test. Like I wanted to test, and I didn't want to deploy it in AWS or something like that. So I used a free server in DigitalOcean. So you people also can do that. And if you're using MongoDB, that's fine. Then you get MongoDB Atlas. And for the backend, I would recommend you all to deploy. If you're looking for free deployment, you can use Render. Render is good for free deployment. It has one bad thing of Render is that suppose you are not using your application, like it has auto scaling. Okay, so suppose you are not using your application, they will close your instance. So what happens is when you click on your application, maybe after 1 2 days, it will take around, I think they have mentioned, I think 50 seconds it takes, 40 to 50 seconds it takes to first load. After that, everything will be fine, as your instance will be open again, so everything will be fine. And for the front end, you can use Netlify, Vercel, anything you want, and that's it. You can deploy your application. So I would recommend you all to make a to-do application with all the CRUD features with authentication. For authentication, you can simply use Firebase if you want, or Clerk is also there, or you can write your own authentication. That will be super great. And you can use Firebase authentication for the Google sign in, and you can have your own authentication. That will be great. Like, see, to do is a very easy app, but you can make it complex. You can learn everything of web development through a to do app itself. And trust me, if you make a to do app like this, if you deploy it and you add it to your resume, and don't forget to write that it has authentication and everything is there, and also attach the deployment link, that is gonna be a great addition to your resume. Like, people say that projects should be unique. Definitely they should be, but if they are not, they should be complex. This is what I think. I haven't made any so much of unique projects, but my projects had all those things of authentication and stuff like that, so it was complex. Don't make a simple to do app. Have proper authentication, have real life users. That will be great. Just make a application, deploy it, ask your friends to use that for 1 week and something like that. Integrate an analytics platform along with it, maybe Google Analytics or anything. So you will understand how an actual application works. Okay, so I think after this session you people have understood, or if you have any questions, kindly, this is the time to ask. You can ask your questions. You can write it in the chat, turn on your mic, anything works. Anybody has any question, or are you all just sleeping? Okay, Antor has one question. Dada, what is take on Ruby on Rails array? Okay, wait a minute. That question just went away. Let me go there now. Yeah. But I think you meant what is your take on Ruby on Rails as a full stack framework? So Ruby on Rails, but at the same time, I would suggest Ruby on Rails is used, like, if I talk about percentage, Ruby on Rails is less. Okay, so if you want to explore, do it. Backend with a Python would have been much, would be more sensible. Using Python or maybe Go would be better, because, like, if I talk about salaries and all also, so Python and Go will be a better choice. See, because if you're learning a if you're learning it to go long term, then you should also check that which language gives you more money and stuffs like that. These are also very important. Okay, so I would recommend Go and what I said, Go and Ruby on Rails. But if you want to learn just for the sake of learning, definitely go for Ruby on Rails. Nothing wrong in that. Also, nowadays Rust is becoming very popular. I personally haven't done that, but Rust is currently becoming very popular. Like, for example, the React 19 compiler is being made on Rust, as I have heard. So now, what is this? Shobik Roy is saying that how does the buffering works in website? Buffering in the sense, what do you mean? Real time? If you're talking about YouTube, that is a different concept. But if you're talking about normal websites, like a loading, okay, so that is basically lazy loading. That thing is called lazy loading. If in a website you see something loading or something like that, that is actually lazy loading. But if you're talking about the buffering in YouTube, that is a total different thing. We are talking about REST APIs here, okay, and YouTube basically streams data. That is totally a different architecture. But in websites, that is lazy loading. Python, yeah, Python is good. Python is definitely good if you're doing Flask or Django or maybe something like Fast API. I have seen Flask and Django more, Fast API less, because Fast API is new. Like Fast API is kind of like Express, as I have seen. I personally haven't coded, but I have seen code. So Fast API feels like more like Express.js. But I have coded in Django, I have coded in Flask, and both of them are quite good. Quite and in industry also, Django and Flask are quite common. You will see a lot of companies using them. Anybody else? Somebody raised their hand, I think. Oh, no, didn't raise their hand. I think somebody gave a thumbs up. Oh, right, right. Python is good. Great. Future software. Anybody else has any more questions? Best sites to host Django. This is a great question, and unfortunately, I don't have the answer. See, if you talk about best sites, best site will be AWS. But if you talk about free and best sites, then I don't have the answer. But if you talk about best site, AWS will be the best. Free is something you need to search on, because see, in software engineering or software development, nobody knows everything. You there, like that is simply not possible. A person knows those things that he or she have worked with. So I haven't deployed Django apps. I have used Django, but I haven't deployed them. Okay, so I have zero idea on that, like free things. But if you talk about paid, then AWS is already there. Can I use React for front end and back end in Python? Absolutely, you can. Like in my company, we actually have our back end in Python and front end in React. So you definitely can. I think you can check Python anywhere. Python anywhere. Is this for the Django question, right, Anto? I haven't really worked on Django very much, but I know how to write Django, but like I haven't really worked very much on that. I have made couple of apps, I think, in Django. What is the average package for a web dev off campus? This is a very vague question, I would say, but somebody from a tier 3 college or from our college, I would say it will vary. Like it can range from 2.5 LPA to maybe 10, 15 LPA. It can vary. But yeah, again, location will be a factor. If you're talking about Kolkata, 10 LPA is not possible. Nobody is going to give you 10 LPA if you're in Kolkata. But if you're going outside Kolkata, definitely above 10 LPA is possible. Because mostly, if you're going outside, a lot of money you will have to spend. And mostly, Kolkata is like a very budget city, I would say. If you go talk about Bangalore and stuff, as I have gone to Bangalore, I have stayed there for a week. So those are very costly. Like a simple auto ride or anything costs a lot more than this. Like we here, like quarrel with rickshawalas that 2 rupees got increased or something like that. But there, it's huge difference from Kolkata and Bangalore or maybe Chennai. Those like auto fares have a huge difference. So in Kolkata, 10 LP is not possible. I would be very honest. But outside Kolkata, yeah, possible. So it depends on you. If you want to stay a little bit comfy like me in my in my home, so you need to slack off a little bit of package. But yeah, it will vary. Like there, I cannot give you a proper answer for this. Okay. Any more else, or shall we? Okay, I think another question. Docker container use করলে hosting easy হবে. You can definitely use Docker. Okay. But I don't know. Like, does Docker gives is there any free service to host Docker containers? I am not aware of that. Like, I have used Docker and AWS mostly. Mostly, na, I have used Docker and Docker with AWS only. I haven't deployed anywhere else. So these free things you need to figure out. Like, see, if you people want to become software engineers, you people are already doing engineering. So Google should be your, I would say, like in your hand. Like you should know how to Google and stuffs like that. But yeah, definitely that is a questionable thing, that whether you will get a free resource for that or not, because not everything is free, right? You need to pay for services and stuffs like that. Okay, so Django the static files একটা headache. Definitely. Like Django, I would say is a bit of complex. Flask is easier. Flask is quite easier. Fast API much, but people say fast API is more easier. So might be the case. Fast API is supreme. Yes. So people say that. I personally haven't used fast API because fast API is comparatively new, na? Because Django and Flask have been for ages. So a new thing will always be better. A new thing is made because they faced problems with those things and then they made it. So that is the thing. So I think this is it. No more questions, I believe. So yeah, here is my, what is this, link tree? I forgot the name. So here is my link tree. You people can definitely check it out, or maybe like all my links are out there. This is my link tree name, Myth OP, and you people will get all my social medias, my LinkedIn and stuffs like that. I think most of you have those, but if you have any question, you can reach me out on LinkedIn, because that's the place where I am most active. I might not reply in Insta or anything else. So that's it, guys. I think uh, I think so. This is it. How to stop the share screen? Okay, going here. I have completely forgotten this Google Meet. Okay. Okay, I think Shambo, you can take on from this.
Thank you so much, Sanglap. I hope everyone in the mate had a great time because he's an amazing host. He's an amazing speaker. Thank you so much for joining here with us today evening. Any more questions, anybody? Then you can obviously ask Sanglap here right now, or you can just go on, as Sanglap said, you can follow his LinkedIn. You can ask your queries out there to him there. And if not, then we're officially ending the workshop here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining with us. We'll be meeting you guys in another workshop very soon. Thank you so much, Sanglap. Thank you so much, everybody.